Dave Birkett here at NRG Stadium after Lions' second preseason game, a 30-23 loss to the Houston Texans. And look, it was another, just sort of blah performance, I think, for the Lions. No Matthew Stafford, no Kenny Galladay, no Marvin Jones, obviously. So it was the backup quarterback show, and the Lions struggled out of the gate offensively. They also struggled out of the gate defensively. And, I said not to pump the brakes after the first preseason game, and I'll say it again here. But, yeah, I think there are a couple things that you can, it's okay to be concerned about after watching this team 2 weeks into the preseason and with only 2 games left, really only one warm-up left before the Lions kick off the regular season against the Arizona Cardinals. And look, let's start with the negatives, all right? First, the offense, they have 0 points in the first quarter so far this preseason. And again, I know Matthew Stafford hasn't played it down. The Lions didn't have any of their starting receivers on the field today, but you'd still like to see them move the ball a little bit better than they have. They didn't have a first down in the first quarter today. It's just the offense, things weren't going great, and it wasn't because of the blocking. It wasn't because of the running. Kerryon Johnson was out there playing. It just nothing went well for the Lions today. They got into an early hole. The defense got shredded the first drive, and they were playing from behind. Josh Johnson, obviously brand new to the offense. So I think there are a couple mitigating factors there, but you still want to see the offense play better. And my thoughts aren't just about the game tonight or the game last week against the New England Patriots. I think it's about training camp as a whole. We've seen Matthew Stafford have sort of an up and down training camp. Throw a pick here, an interception there, miss on a deep ball there. I think there's still a lot to be worked out with the offense, be it with him and the receivers or whatever the case may be. And, with only, again, one tune-up left, I guess, before the regular season opens, I'm starting to wonder if this thing will be clicking on all cylinders when the Lions open up the regular season against the Arizona Cardinals. Patricia was non-committal about whether Stafford's going to play next week against Buffalo. I'm as certain as you can be that he will be on the field. He needs to get some preseason reps, and presumably he'll be there with Galladay and Marvin Jones and Danny Amendola, and they'll get a good half a work in, and that'll give us some semblance of what this new offense with Darrell Bevell coordinating it will be. But again, the regular season is going to be here before we know it. And, we don't have a lot to go on with what the Lions are going to be right now. Defensively, I think you can say the same thing. Obviously no Damon Harrison, no Trey Flowers, no Mike Daniels. Deshaun Hand has been hurt, so they're missing a lot of key pieces up front. But, that being said, you still want to see a little bit better effort out of that first-team defense, especially early on. They weren't able to get any pressure on Deshaun Watson that first drive. He just came down and picked them apart. I think his first 4 passes all went for 12 or more yards. The Texans converted a 4th and 1 when the Lions had 12 guys on the field. And then the touchdown pass, Deshaun Watson looks to his right, nothing's there. He's able to come back to his left, find DeAndre Hopkins, one of the better receivers in the NFL, open. But still, you need to be able to get a little more pressure, I think, on the opposing quarterback. And the Lions, they just don't have that right now. And they should get, they'll, look, when Harrison's out on the field and Trey Flowers is out on the field, they're going to be better. They'll be able to do that a little bit more. But, you just want to see a little bit more out of this team here in week 2. So, am I worried? No, I think it's still the preseason. You still have to understand who's on the field, who's not, who's going to be playing when the regular season opens. But, I do think there are a couple little things to be worried about, or little things that you want to see the Lions do better going forward. And as I said, there's just not a lot of time going forward now to do those. I will say there were a couple good things to take from tonight's game. Is mediocre as the performance was overall. I think, number one, the Lions created 2 turnovers. And that's something that, I wrote about that in my 5 things to watch, because I know it's been a big emphasis of this team all offseason, all summer, really. They finished 31st in the NFL in takeaways last year. So to get 2 of them tonight, even though they were by backups, that was, that's a positive. I think that can be a springboard going forward. Romeo Okwara forced a fumble, came in, punched the ball out. He was the 3rd guy in on the tackle, and that that's something that Matt Patricia said after the game, that they've sort of stressed, that Romeo's done that. He played that with the technique that they had talked about. When you got a guy, you're holding a guy up, your teammates are holding a guy up, you come in swinging for the ball, and that's what he did. Will Harris scooped it up, returned it 19 yards for a touchdown. So positive to see that. Andrew Adams had an interception, poorly thrown ball. Joe Webb threw it into 3 defenders, but Andrew Adams really has a nose for the ball. He came in, he was playing a deep safety, just kind of came in, jumped the route, and picked that off. He's had a bunch of picks here in the preseason. He's going to be a backup for this team this fall, but he does. He has a sixth sense of where that ball's going to go, and that's part of the reason why he's been so productive here in training camp. So that was good. It was good to see a couple turnovers after the lack of takeaways, I should say, after the lack of takeaways that the Lions had last year. And the other thing, look, Jalen Reeves-Maybin had another nice game. I think Jelani Tavai did some good things. So those young linebackers, the backup linebackers really, because it's going to be Devon Kennard, Jared Davis, Christian Jones are probably your 3 linebackers to start. But I think those backup linebackers, they give the Lions a little more depth at that position than they've had in the past. And, that's a good thing. Matt Patricia's a big linebacker guy. The Lions, they really value that position because of the versatility that some of those guys bring and the way they want to move those guys down the field, around the field. So it's good to see Tavai. He's had a nice little camp. Jalen Reeves-Maybin, he has some speed. He's going to play in some sub packages. So I think the Lions, you see some parts on defense, maybe that they have a few more parts than we even thought, because we knew they'd have a strong defensive line. We sort of worried about the secondary. Still some concerns in the secondary. We didn't really know what that linebacking core was going to be. And I thought, it showed well tonight. And again, Jared Davis didn't play. Christian Jones didn't play a ton. Devon Kennard was out there a little bit, but I think there's still some room for growth there. So, halfway point of the preseason, there's a few reasons for optimism here. Kerryon Johnson ran the ball like you'd expect. He had a nice little night, even though he didn't play a ton. I think Kenny Galladay throughout training camp has looked well. The Lions do have the makings of a good defensive line and maybe a good defense as a whole. But again, I mentioned some of those worrying signs that we're closing in here on the start of the regular season. We haven't seen the offense yet. We haven't seen any of the defensive line healthy. So there are a few little things that raise my antenna that I want to see out of the Lions before they open the regular season against the Arizona Cardinals. That'll do it from here at NRG Stadium. I'm Dave Birkett, Freep.com.